Hey everyone, my name is Wedge. It's been a while, but we're here to get you caught up on the storyline for Shadows over Innistrad. Want a more detailed story than the Fat Pack Player's Guide summaries, but don't have time to read the entire stories on the mothership? You've come to the right place. Let's dive right in. The stage is set with Under the Silver Moon. When Avacyn was released from the Hell Vault, her curse mute was supposed to have purged the plane of lycanthropy, either curing werewolves altogether, turning them into benevolent wolf-ear, or at worst, driving them into hiding. Despite all that, the town of Gatstaff seems to have come under attack by the werewolves that were supposed to have been dealt with. We join the werewolf hunting couple Helena and Elena as they investigate the situation. However, they find no answers, only more questions. They ultimately determine that the attacks believed to be caused by werewolves were actually perpetuated by a woman possessed by a demon. But this doesn't explain all of what they saw. After all, there was still half-eaten livestock and lupine tracks that clearly indicate a werewolf. And there's also the strange twisted stone altar they find in the woods while tracking down the demon. Hall and Elena also encounter something truly unprecedented, a werewolf with full control over her transformations. Her name is Arlencourt, and she's a planeswalker whose spark ignited the first time she transformed into a werewolf after years of resisting the curse. After hurtling randomly across the blind eternities like one does on their first planeswalk, Arlen returned to Innistrad able to transform freely between human and wolf forms, and with full mental faculties in both forms. Now she defends her pack of werewolves, but it's swiftly becoming apparent that she has bigger problems than werewolf hunters. Whatever it was that disrupted the curse mute is starting to have even more dire effects on the plane. We move on next to a gaze blank and pitiless. Avacyn flies over the land of Innistrad, hearing the prayers of the humans and coming down to answer them when she can. The very concept of protection lies at the core of Avacyn's existence, quite literally, being as how she was created hundreds of years ago by the planeswalker Sorin Markov to protect the humans on the plane. Admittedly, that was mainly to prevent the vampires from predating humans into extinction and then starving, but details. However, one day Avacyn finds that salvation no longer gives her that same feeling of satisfaction. Instead, she can only fixate on the flaws and failings of humanity, as though malicious thoughts were being planted in her mind. Avacyn tries to put the thoughts out of her head, but they just keep coming, and she succumbs to their influence. The curse mute relents, and humans thought to be cured of their lycanthropy find themselves drawn once again into the influence of primal rage and bestial transformation. Even the other angels are influenced by the dark curse now afflicting Avacyn. Sigarda, one of the plane's archangels from long before Avacyn's creation, is assaulted by her sisters Gisela and Bruna, who bring Sigarda to Avacyn and try to convince Sigarda that the potential for humans to sin is itself justification for their destruction. The threatening tone of the lecture reminded Sigarda of something that happened long ago, before Avacyn became imprisoned in the Hell Vault. Apparently back then, Sigarda, Bruna, and Gisela had a fourth sister. However, this fourth sister was somewhat more willing than would be expected of an angel to give the time of day to demons, vampires, witches, and the like. Avacyn killed that fourth sister for this heresy, and Sigarda now feared that she would meet the same fate, killed for disagreeing with Avacyn's newfound merciless dogma. While the other angels leave Sigarda alive for the moment, it's clear that dire times are upon us. Sure enough, the angels depart their sister and immediately go on their first murderous rampage. They descend upon a town, the very same town where Avacyn saved a lost human child not more than a day or two ago. But this time, they come to kill. They descend upon the town on blood-stained wings, setting fire to the houses and killing all the humans there. Truly, the only thing worse than a world devoid of Avacyn's aid is one beset by her wrath. Enter Jace Beleren, member of the newly formed Planeswalker Alliance known as the Gatewatch. After hearing from Ugin about the disappearance of the Innistrad native Planeswalker Sorin Markov, he goes to the plane to discover his whereabouts. After all, Sorin had helped Ugin seal away the Eldrazi Titans so long ago, and with two of them destroyed, Sorin might have information that would help the Gatewatch find and neutralize the third. Plus, Jace already has a contact of sorts on the plane, fellow Planeswalker Liliana Vess. Granted, their relationship was hardly the healthiest thing known to man, quite the opposite in fact. Plus, their recent communications were strained to say the least, but it was a start. And so, Jace seeks out Liliana's help. The story in which he does this is called Unwelcome, which ought to give you some hint as to how well it goes. Jace travels to Liliana's manor and tells her that he's come in search of Sorin Markov. Liliana's honest advice to him is to simply abandon all attempts to do so, as Soren may be significantly less friendly even than Jace has come to think. She also tries to warn Jace about the Angel's recent turn for the worse, though Jace takes this as her typical distaste for manifestations of pure white mana. Ultimately, Jace basically disregards all of Liliana's advice, taking her mention of Markov Manor only as an indication of where he should start his search. Meanwhile, things continue to get worse for the humans of the plane. Whatever is afflicting the Angels' minds and turning them against humanity also seems to be affecting the humans themselves. This time, the people of Nephalia have started a cult to a monster called the Gitrog. It lives in the depths of Lake Zava, and the locals have taken to sacrificing livestock and people alike to it. Sounds like nonsense, right? Well, the story isn't called How Some Hunter's Daughter Saved the Day. It's called Sacrifice. The Gitrog toad is 100% real, it's awake, and it's hungry. All is sacrifice. We return to a plot with the mystery of Markov Manor, which picks up with Jace flagrantly defying Liliana's advice and pressing onward to Markov Manor, or rather to what's left of Markov Manor. Instead of a recognizable building, Jace finds only scattered rubble and parts of rooms floating in the air over a sheer drop in flagrant defiance of gravity. Jace enters the ruined front door and is assaulted by hallucinations. He hears his own voice asking him questions and suggesting rather disturbing answers. Jace moves through the mansion, his mind in a dreamlike state with no recollection of how he got to any one part or another, as if his memory had simply picked up in medias res. Much to his shock, he also discovers the fate of the vampires in the mansion when, well, whatever this is happened to it. They were embedded into the stone of the walls themselves, and perhaps needless to say, dead as a result. However, one of the dead vampires is holding something, a book of some kind. Merely touching the book gives Jace a vision of the memory of its former bearer being given the book by its writer, a Soratami from the plane of Kamigawa, Tamio. The memory includes a mention of something called Cryptolis, but it soon cuts off in favor of more disembodied voices. Jace heads for an exit, but not before he has one more vision. This vision is of Edgar Markov drinking the blood of an angel and becoming Innistrad's first vampire. Further tormented by voices, Jace opens the journal in search of an answer to anything or any indication of why he suddenly thinks the journal so important. He finds sketches of the strange twisted stones that have begun to appear throughout the plane, the cryptolis he heard about in one of the visions. He also reads Tamio's recorded observation that the angels seem to have gone mad, finally explaining what Liliana meant when warning Jace about them. Jace concludes that either Soren himself has gone on a destructive rampage or someone else has done so intending to anger Soren. With that in mind and Tamio's journal in hand, he goes off to investigate the cryptolis in the Drownyard Temple. The notes in the journal seem to record changes in the tides that indicate something big is afoot, literally. It would take something very, very large or very, very dense to cause enough gravitational oddness to affect the tidal cycle and the lunar orbit. Jace finds it absurd that something that huge could go unnoticed, but he presses on, following the path indicated by the cryptolis he finds. On the way, he encounters a woman who seems helpful at first, until it becomes clear that her words are meaningless babbling. He tries to read her thoughts, but becomes trapped in her mind, seeing illusions of himself. The landscape of the woman's mind becomes twisted and sinewy as Jace seems to lose consciousness for a moment. He comes to, with his mind back in his own head, mostly, and continues along the path of the cryptolis. Finally, Jace arrives at the cryptolis destination, the Drownyard of Nephalia. Countless zombies are working to build a huge stone structure ringed by cryptolis. As he approaches the temple, Jace gets the sense of a great blind spot above, some sort of suspended body above the temple. Invisible, but with a tangible effect on the gravity and stability of the plane. Jace reasons that this must be the huge object, the eldritch moon described in Tamio's journal. Jace draws closer to the temple and is assaulted by illusions. He sees visions of himself and of Tamio, drawing his attention to the skies. Angels swarm the skies, wheeling in the air above the Drownyard Temple and its cryptolis. Suddenly, a purple illusory duplicate of Jace changes into Liliana. It's suddenly clear to Jace that Liliana was behind all this. That's why she was so insistent that looking for Soren wasn't worth it. She wanted to hide her efforts from Jace as she strove to rid Innistrad of the angel she so hated. Of course, none of that's actually true. The truth is far more amusing, trust me, but we'll get to that next time. What's important now is that Jace, plagued by illusions and mental exhaustion, sure thinks that Liliana is behind everything. Next time, we'll pick up with Liliana's reactions to these accusations. I think she'll take it well. Anywho, let me know what you think about the story so far. Interesting, uninteresting? Love to hear your thoughts. Innistrad, what a crazy place. As always, subscribe for the latest and most reliable Magic the Gathering information you could ever need. This is the Mana Source. I'm Wedge. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. This video is brought to you in part by TCGplayer.com. As we dive deeper into the Innistrad story, why not buy some Innistrad pack goodness? Right now, you can get Shadows over Innistrad booster boxes for as low as $94 on TCG Player right now. Pretty darn cheap. Don't want to go that crazy? How about a fat pack? $38 including shipping. Can't get them near you? Get them online. Easy peasy.